I think my visceral response to anything with demand gen titles, as I've been testing it for years with hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend, millions of dollars in ad spend, probably at this point, because my first test was $500,000 back in 2022. And it has never changed its tune, whether I look at top line or I import, same result. But what I do definitely very much disagree with is Google's new way of trying to trick everyone, which is why I'm still, I'm still on videos today showing the real shit.
So, well, that brings up a very interesting point. So it's kind of, I mean, in a sense then, from what I'm getting out of this, it's kind of killed YouTube then with the attribution on how it's getting rated then.
No, as YouTube was doing this since January, at least.
Well, I'm just thinking, so I guess here's the question I don't fully understand. So when it takes attribution, it's still taking the original conversion-based bidding or the conversion column. But in demand gen, I wonder, I guess this is more of a tinfoil hat. I wonder if it's ever going to swap over to the other attributed method as like the conversion action. If it does, then that kills YouTube on conversion-based bidding then. It's going to over attribute and it's just going to be impressions and it's for sure always going to go warm.
Yeah, which is actually, but I've been seeing that same thing since January. And that's what caused me to actually get rid of Northbeam mostly and even push Upper Clean into Wicked. And my original test, I don't know if you guys all remember it, but in January 8th through the 14th, I did First Touch. And remember when we took 30% out of Meta and YouTube's like, la, 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 didn't do anything because it didn't see anything because it only changed 4% of its spend, but then 50% of its revenue tanked.
Yeah.
On First Touch, which that wouldn't be possible unless this was going warm.
Yeah.
Very similar to how demand gen is. And then the test back to it says, okay, so 4% decrease in cost, 50% reduction. Let's just go the next week. Whoa, I up. There we go. January. Let's go the next week. We did January 8th through the 14th, which is here. Let's go the 15th to the 21st. And that's when I pushed now 60% back in, -30 to a +30, 60% ad spend increase. Still, top line didn't change. Didn't change at all.
Yeah.
2.6 more. But YouTube also really didn't change its spend. But all of a sudden just gained all that revenue back. Yeah. So now we went from -50 to +42. It gained 92. Wait a minute. It gained 92% more revenue for no more money and 43% less new users.
Make it make sense.
This is demand, call it demand gen, and ta-da, same results.
Yeah.
So what works? Well, the non-video action campaigns. Video action campaign is just change your mind by saying, is YouTube dead or is video action campaigns dead? YouTube's still very much alive. We just launched a segment campaign yesterday. Or sorry, a sequence campaign yesterday.
Yeah.
So you can still run YouTube like good YouTube. If you say, no, I want YouTube to find anybody it can and convert it, that's Performance Max / demand gen.
So question on that, because I know that we've been talking about this in the community, importing in first click new users to demand gen only YouTube, that can still go cold. But the issue is it's not going to see as much data because it's only using clicks. And on top of that, tinfoil hat, back to the previous conversation we had, was if you're relying on that, it might switch. We don't know if it looks like Google's trying to switch attribution inside of demand gen, and they might start counting that. We don't know though.
Maybe that's a big maybe. I would say it would be interesting. They would have to be able to have some sort of imports to be able to do that before. And they kind of are. As I imported new customers, it fell here.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is with the, like you said, with the imports, and still basically 7.45. Were you optimizing just for the imports as well on new customers? Yeah,
this is my primary conversion action.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that completely changes a lot of things right here. Then.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The conversion platform says when you did an import, it said I gave my data to Google, and Google went,
yeah.
There. Yeah, I'm like, awesome. So if we look at the all conversions, we have 7 and 17. This would say 7, and if it was counting 17.
Gotcha. The zeros underneath. Got it.
Yes. So here's what you have to then do is you have to extrapolate. because this is a primary bidding and this is a secondary.
Yep.
If 7 and 7 turns into 80, what does 17 turn into?
Yeah, it's the ratios. I guess the thing that I just didn't, for whatever reason, didn't think that return customers were, or I thought they were a primary action as well too. This was just like a behind the scenes test, but I see the conversion column, so it makes sense. Dang, that's crazy though, because because we were seeing this previously, and we have some people in the community that are still in the old YouTube setup, and it's still pushing just new customers, and they aren't having this issue.
Well,
in terms of like return customers.
Remember, is it an omni-channel scale where we're spending 50, 100 G's a day across all platforms?
That's true. It is omni-channel, so it's middle of funnel, most likely new customers, which we covered with them. So yeah,
which is the same thing. If you spend 200 grand and then or 180 and 12, YouTube is just a glorified remarketing for Meta.
Yeah, it's a middle of funnel, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, no, totally. Which could be good, and we're finding it actually is good in his case. Absolutely. But you just kind of stuck.
Well, but what's funny is like, yes, absolutely. My end goal is like, if you're saying, hey, I only ever want to go on YouTube, do it, because it can't steal from anything else. So it's either you're YouTube only for the rest of your life, or you're going to add some other channels. And if you add some other channels, this is how you have to think about, what do I expect YouTube to do?
Yeah.
Remember, you're all here to kind of like think like John and Caden. And what John and Caden thinks is, okay, knowing that when there's a lot of fresh traffic coming in from other sources, what does PMax do? Hey,
scoop up easy people.
What does YouTube do? Hey,
yeah.
And what does demand gen do? Hey. So they're all about the same. They're all automated targeted bidding for conversions, which means warm returning customers.
It's just crazy that even with that setting though, we're still seeing that ratio. That's wild to me. Like that operates very different than Meta.
Well, that's why whenever I ran these tests, and I'm like, no, I'm like, measure by NCAC and MER, that'll actually show the truth. We threw 10 grand at this and nothing happened.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's just odd, because like you're giving it the action to optimize for, but it's still wanting to just optimize towards people that are converting, that are similar to the action. So
that's because it's the algorithm doing the targeting, not my
action,
not my campaigns. That's why whenever I'm doing my imports, I'm still removing Performance Max.
Yeah.
Even, when I started doing my imports, I'm like, holy shit, like Performance Max actually never did anything.
Yeah.
Demand gen actually never did anything. Video action campaigns, unless you have a high amount of spend in a singular channel, like we did with Mosey T. I scaled up a video action campaign to $750,000 in revenue for $250,000 in spend in 30 days. That was our only channel.
Yeah.
We didn't do YouTube. There was no organic. There was no direct. We didn't do email. It was 100% YouTube and Performance Max. And Performance Max went from a 1.5x to a 6x when we scaled YouTube, but YouTube went from 1x to a 1x. Didn't change. Yeah. So when you start to have all this experiences and you start to be in this industry for this long, you're like, oh, I pushed here and that would look good. Like, can I replicate that? Do it again. Do it again. Like, I've developed a pattern.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of start to see, like, I know now what to expect. And so, or at least I know now what to watch for. And demand gen, if you take Google's attribution, yeah, I got $115 CPA. If I import it on and counting NCAC, which is the only way to grow business, is $1,200. So yeah, it's something to at least consider. I spent $10,000 on this. Like, it's not like, oh, I just didn't spend enough. This is the company that we scaled to $100 million in revenue in 4 years, and demand gen still can't get off its ass.
That to me, I'm just mind blown how different the algorithms are. Like, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, Meta and YouTube, or Meta and Meta and Google are just getting similar, and they're not. Like, it's very different on the action side of things. So, and we kind of, this was, going way back to where like you didn't even have conversion actions on that one account that was selling, I forget what it was, because they, like you said, the website was getting blocked by the previous agency, and they were still getting really good conversions, even though there was no conversion inside the platform. So they're still doing it. It's just a matter of like, oh, this is close enough. Okay, we'll give you that. So that's so crazy. That to me that's mind blowing. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Yeah. That's what's really interesting is I'll never trust in platform metrics unless I import them. And if I can import new and returning, it's like, 7 new for 17 returning.
Yeah.
I could never scale that. I'm
Yeah,
like,
from the source. Yeah.
if you choose by clicks, great. And all that means is that the ratio of clicks from the parties that is coming from tells me, like I've been saying, 40 to 60% of all automated targeting is remarketing. That's still true today. I don't make these metrics up. They are proven every month. And so
Yeah, well,
we just have to think about it differently. It's not that demand gen is bad. It's just that if you have omni-channel spend, you cannot allow or you cannot rely on demand gen to grow in a good way. It's very, if we pull up my handy dandy notebook like Blue's Clues says, this is how we always have to think about things. This is your website.
PMax 0.5 is all it is.
It's kind of like auto targeting in and of its sense, forever. What I mean by auto targeting has the same kind of sentiment forever. What I mean by that is this. How do I get that just 100? That's bugging the hell out of me. Okay. So this is your website. This is the cloud of people. Do I have a cloud? That'd be cool if I have a cloud. I don't have a cloud. Oh, well, we'll use the shape here.
Dot bubble, but yeah.
Yep. So the people that are on your website are up here. And this is exactly where they're all living. And they're new, returning. They're first-time customers, returning customers. They just saw you for the first time. They hate you. They love you. All of the traffic is right here. Okay. And this is where people have a really tough time in bringing their mind to think of it this way, because they think, no, if I launch campaign, it's going to go to new people. Any auto targeting, PMax scoops up here first. Advantage Plus scoops up in here on Meta. Demand Gen goes in there as well. This is the cherry as to be picked by all auto targeting. Now, you'll have a YouTube sequence campaign to cold traffic. That will actually kind of go outwards. Inbound non-brand standard shopping, still half and half.
Yeah.
If you're using T-ROAS, you need to see that kind of stuff. So that's what's interesting, is knowing who's going to dip into the plump apple of existing customers and existing website traffic. That's what you have to think about, is how much of that is going to be found when you launch a campaign. Advantage Plus absolutely will. Demand Gen, yes. Performance Max, YouTube, like video action campaigns, which demand gen with all YouTube, yes. Even Gmail and display will always start to identify who can they convert first. So as I added another channel into the dipping of the audiences, this is why when you have, let's say, a high amount of Meta over here, just funneling users into here, and then Google YouTube and PMax and demand gen are all dipping into that pool. That's why when everybody here thinks that it's market conditions, it's really not. If Meta takes a nosedive down and no longer produces a good amount of quality people to your website, that's why you see PMax fall down. That's why you see YouTube fall down. That's why you see every other automated targeting start to fall down. The reason why my Northbeam, that projection where I said we shut off Meta and YouTube took a dive, is because YouTube was cherry picking off the people on the website, and we shut off shut off Meta, and the well dried up. And then we turned Meta back on and filled back up the well. And then YouTube's like, oh, thank you for that. Now my metrics are 100% better this week. Thank you for filling up the people that I now can take credit for. So when you look at this cloud over your website of just all of your traffic, the less you can do to start to dip into that, and the more you could do to start filling that, feeder strategy, non-brand standard shopping, all the shit that I've been teaching will allow you to have that scalable. It's like, don't dip into your savings account, start ripping it out for sales. You're going to go broke the next week. That's why there's a lull. You want to feed it more people. That's why TV commercials still work, is feeding the top of users to your brand name. So we have to think about who's dipping into my cloud. Right, exactly.